Good afternoon, welcome to Newsbeat. My name is Kenneth. Jesse, let's take a look at our top story. Boyfriend of late Nana Ama found dead in Cape Coast, mutilated, remanded into police custody to reappear on May 31, 2022 at the Cape Coast District Court B over her murder. School feeding caterers laid down tools demanding increment in grants from 97 pesos to 3 Ghana cedis per child. A crunch meeting ongoing. We'll bring you more details. Ghana Traditional Council and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly caution Muslims against the use of public address systems as it clamps down on churches flouting a 1-month ban on noise making in Accra. Welcome to the program. Our news just coming in indicates that boyfriend of late Nana Ama found dead in Cape Coast, mutilated, remanded into police custody to reappear on 31st May 2022 at the Cape Coast District Court B over her murder. We'll begin more of that story in our subsequent bulletin. Away from that, members of the School Feeding Caterers Association have declared indefinite strike effective today, Monday, 16th May 2022, over what they have described as inadequate school feeding grant. They have vowed not to cook until government increases the current feeding grant from 97 pesos to 3 Ghana cedis per child. School children who are beneficiaries of the school feeding program will not be fed until the outstanding issues are resolved. The caterers, in an interview with Metro News, said they are making huge losses from cooking hot meals for the children at the current price allocation. Helena Pia is the secretary of the School Feeding Caterers Association of Ghana, and she spoke to my colleague Gabriel Ni Obodai Togbo Ashon earlier.
My concerns right now is school has reopened and we've been asked to go and cook. And we've been asked to cook at the same price of 97 pesos, which we all know in Ghana that prices of commodities have gone up. We can't cook with 97 pesos again. Two, we've worked for 2 terms, we have not been paid, yet the management of school feeding is ordering us to go and cook again, which is not what is in our contract. Our contract is school feeding will owe us 1 term. That means when you do 2 terms, you'll be paid 1 term before you go in for the 3rd term. Now we've worked for 2 terms, we have not been paid, yet they want us to go and cook at the same 97 pesos, which will not help us in any way. Since last year, this year we raised it before the beginning of the 1st term, and we are asked to go and work, and that they are going to put it on their table. Yet nothing has been communicated to us. They still insist we should go back to the kitchen and cook with 97 pesos per child, which we can't do that again. We can't do that again. Nobody do that business for loss. We all run business to gain. We know it's a win and loss, but this time around, we are losing more than we are gaining. Okay. Every business that you lose more than you are gaining, you are going bankrupt. So we can't do it again. Yes, our pots have been turned upside down. Today we didn't cook. We are trying to book meeting with our authorities this afternoon. We are expecting 3 cedis per child.
Let's cross over to my colleague Shadrach Odami Ejare, who is currently at a basic school in La, to give us a first-hand situational report of the impact of the strike.
Well, to better understand if really the said strike action is taking a toll on schools and then students, we decided to visit about 5 schools in La. We've gone to Vela Bethel Basic School, where it was confirmed that the caterer in charge indeed made mention of the fact that they are going on strike, and then it's going to be a 50-50 something. They might or might not come to feed the children. At the La Salem Basic School, the head teacher confirmed that the caterer has not informed them about any strike, and he's even oblivious of the fact that the school feeding caterers are going on strike. I also visited the St. Paul's Basic School, where the head teacher decided not to even speak at all, because most of the head teachers fear being victimized or subsequently being transferred from their various schools. But it was evident that they have also not received their share of today's school feeding program. At the La Enobal Basic School, it was quite different, because just as I got there, they had finished eating their breakfast about 40 to 45 minutes before I got there. So they have had their fair share already from the school feeding program. Later on, I also visited the Laboni Basic School, where they have also, just like La Enobal, have also had their share of the school feeding program. They have already taken their first meal for the day. So some schools are actually striking. The caterers of some schools are striking. They have not fed the students yet, whilst others possibly could not be bothered, but they have also already given the students their first meal, as students also await what will come up subsequently during the day. But in all, this is what we've been able to gather from the various schools we visited.
Boyfriend of late Nana Ama-Clark, found dead in Cape Coast, mutilated, has been remanded into police custody to reappear on May 31, 2022 at the Cape Coast District Court B. Nicholas Atto Taylor was arrested over the weekend over the murder and charged with the murder of the suspect. The victim, 24-year-old level 300 marketing student of the Cape Coast Technical University, was murdered at Ola Estate in Cape Coast. The lifeless body of the lady was found at 9 p.m. on Friday, May 13, 2022, with a vagina removed. It is suspected that her missing parts may have been used to perform rituals, but the police are yet to confirm that. And the suspected murder of Nanama brings the number of death tolls in similar manner in the region to 8 in less than 10 days. Let's still stay in Cape Coast, because some days ago, the members of the Senior Staff Association of the Cape Coast University issued a statement about their decision to embark on a strike. They held a meeting with management, but the results were inconclusive. We speak to the chairperson of the Senior Staff Association at the University of Cape Coast, Sandy Kumi Sinatra, to give us an update on the issue. Good afternoon, Sandy. Welcome to the show. What occurred during the meeting? Hello? Hello, Sandy, can you hear me? It looks like we're having some technical challenges getting through to Sandy, but if we do get through, we ask the... Right, I understand. Unfortunately, we've lost Sandy on the line, but we'll go back to that story again if we do get Sandy back on the line. Let's bring you more stories, as the Ghana Traditional Council and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has cautioned Muslims against the use of public address systems during prayers, as it mounts to noise-making and flouts the ban on noise-making in the capital. A joint task force from the Ghana Traditional Council and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly last Sunday clamped down on over a dozen churches found flouting the ban in some parts of the capital. The annual ban is instituted by the traditional leadership of Accra as part of preparations for the celebration of the city's Homeworld Festival. Gilbert Ankra is the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Traditional Council.
As much as most of the churches were not directly playing drums, or let me put it that way, a lot of the churches were using their keyboards, they were using their speakers, and so if you are even around the vicinity, you are on the street closer to them, you can hear these voices coming out. You even had some of the churches singing through these microphones, and they were loud enough. So as part of the enforcement, the team would have to ensure that their instruments they are using were confiscated and brought to the traditional council. So that was what happened. This is a 1-month period, and we are all Christians. We are all affected one way or the other, because as we know, if you go to church without instruments, you will not be able to do what you want to do well. We all know how it plays an important role. But this is a 1-month period. I want to urge all of us to ensure that we adhere to this ban. Let me state briefly that if you look at our Muslim brothers, one challenge that we have, and let me state it categorically here, and they should desist from using their speakers, especially doing their dawn prayers, their Friday prayers. Please, they should understand that within this period, there are some rules and regulations, especially with respect to tradition and that is being adhered to. So they should also ensure that they adhere. They should not be using their horns, especially doing for calling for prayers during dawn and then on Fridays. Okay. We have not seen any yet, but we've had some reports of especially the call for prayers, using their horns to call for prayers and all that. And it's on that basis that I am saying that they should ensure that they desist for it before the task force moving to enforce the law.
Let's go back to the phone lines and speak to the chairperson of the Senior Staff Association at the University of Cape Coast, Sandy Kumi Sinatra, to give us an update. Sandy, if you can hear me, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. What occurred during the meeting?
Good afternoon, my brother. Let me use this opportunity to greet your cherished viewers. Yes, last Friday, management of the University of Cape Coast met with the union leaders of the Senior Staff Association of the university. Yes, at the meeting, went over the issue. We told management that upon the briefing or explanations given to us on our issues, they're still not satisfied with some of them and pleaded to have a second look at it. In view of that, management said they are going to do that and officially write to us today being Monday, and then we will get their response so that we also know the appropriate actions and measures to take afterwards. Okay. So we are in waiting for management response as we have called, and as we speak, we've not received anything from management yet.
Okay. Apart from that, what were some of the other issues you were able to settle?
Yes, most of the issues management are saying they are policy decisions, and for us to resolve them, it may require some change of certain policies, which we think management has the power, so to say, to, if they think our plea is worth considering, without amending or altering the policy, they can be an interim measure for us so that whatever deserves us will get it until such a time that holistically management will amend those policies. Okay. So we've pleaded with management to consider those options within the shortest possible time so that we can also avert our decision. Okay. Anything contrary to this, we may continue with whatever we have decided or communicated to the general public.
Right. Looking at all the issues that were discussed, does it look like the strike will be called off anytime soon?
The posture of management as our last meeting, it doesn't look so, or it doesn't appear to be so. But we are just hoping that maybe they will soften their stance in their communique that we are yet to receive from them. If that happens, why not? We also equally soften our stance and then move forward. But anything contrary to that, now.
Okay. We hope for the best. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Sandy Kumi Sinatra is the chairperson of the Senior Staff Association at the University of Cape Coast. You're still watching Newsbeat here on Metro Television. Let's bring in more stories as communication team member of the MPP, Helen Amadeko, has entreated Ghanaians living outside Ghana to come home, adding that it is not a safe haven anywhere anymore. Also, Joyce Bawa Muktari, aide to former President John Mahama, says Ghana has relatively been a model of tolerance.
When your child starts rejoicing at the misfortune of others, especially others that he is not of the same faith with. And we shouldn't just target the Islam religion. For now, it is their issue that has come up. But let's remember, some of our Christian brothers and sisters are also radicalized. Yeah. And sometimes I feel their own is even extra dangerous. When somebody takes the Bible and decides to misbehave or get radicalized with it, it can be very, very dangerous. So it is in both religions. And we should, as a majority Christian country, we should look at all these things. Because some of our children are really being radicalized. Children who, under normal circumstances, will mix with all manner of children depending on it doesn't matter, their religious background. Now you realize that they start pulling away. They start bringing out either Bible phrases or phrases from the Quran that is so different from the understanding that all of us have. You should start looking at your teens who start doing that. Teens who stop doing the things that they enjoy doing. They stop going to normal church services. They stop going to, normal Sunday schools or normal young adult church services. And they start, fraternizing with strange people. People you yourself as a parent, you don't know. We should start looking at them. As we are talking about parents, all the things I'm speaking about are for children who are, or young adults who are in homes, and they have parents who are taking care of them. We have all forgotten about a group of children. I have been so scared that they will be the first to be radicalized, the street children. Oh. If we are ever going to have any security issues in relation to children and young adults, look at these street children.
Away from that, the Ministry of Education in a consultative meeting discussed ways to arrive at education quality in Ghana. One relevant area has been the adoption of grade C students by grade A schools to help establish equality in access to good education in the senior high schools. On the back of this, let's engage the Deputy Spokesperson of the Ministry of Education, Yao Opoku-Mensah, for more. Yao, welcome to the show. What was the outcome of the meeting?
Okay, let me say good evening to yourself and to your lovely viewers. It was a fruitful meeting that we had with experienced hands in managing our various secondary schools. And I can say on authority that it was a useful meeting that brought well-experienced hands to discuss the way forward, the prospect ahead of us, and what the future entails, especially looking at the establishment of new schools and how these new schools will be beneficial in terms of adapting certain culture of existing senior high schools, so that we wouldn't wait for another 20 years or 15 years or 30 years for these new schools to get to the level of these category A schools. So we had a very fruitful meeting, which was led by the sector minister himself.
Okay. And how will this adoption help in equity in quality education in the country?
Now, you will agree with me that the category A schools do have a certain culture that if you dig deep into the other categories, you wouldn't see same. So therefore, even in the establishment of certain category A schools, for example, Prempeh College adapted certain culture from other secondary schools, notably from Presec, Vansepem, etc., so that we could have that blueprint within these newly established or the category C schools that you talk about. Now, the idea is to borrow their principle of excellence, to have a fair understanding how they have been able to manage their school to the level where we all want our kids to be. So therefore, it's fit and proper that certain culture is borrowed from that outfit into the new system, so that the process in terms of managing students, in terms of growing the institution, in terms of ensuring that we do have quality all around within our schools are established. Because if it is left out to them alone, then what it means is that there wouldn't be any culture to learn from. But if they are tied up to these category A schools, the excellent work that they do in their schools, that culture is borrowed into these new establishments, so that we can have a fair and a uniform system where we can all crave for that new school as well as crave for that old school as well. So that is the idea, and it's something that we started. For example, if you look at the STEM schools that have been established, some experienced hands from some of these well-established schools have been taken into these schools to ensure that they manage it to that level that we all aspire these schools to be.
Okay, let's shift away from the free senior high school and talk about colleges of education, because colleges of education have been changed to 4-year bachelor education. Apart from the accommodation issues, what other challenges are we expected to face?
if you ask me of challenges that we are expected to face, I wouldn't know the kind of challenge that comes up immediately. But it's a transition process. While the transition is involved, that is what will call for the expansion of facilities. And as you know, within the media, and I believe that this morning you did discuss that, government by next year, 1st June, every college, all the colleges of education will have a 300 capacity hostel, 3-story capacity hostel that will help ease the accommodation or the hostel problem within our schools as part of the 4-year process. So when these projects are completed, it gives an expansion to the space. It allows for learners to have that space to be able to stay on campus comfortably. Right. So when the challenge comes, that is where we devise means to ensure that we deal with it. As it stands now, I don't know what the kind of challenge that comes in mind that you want us to discuss.
Right. Yaopoku Mensah, thank you very much for speaking to us this afternoon. Let's bring you more stories as the Public Utility Regulatory Commission has this afternoon commenced a public hearing on the recent proposed tariff increment by some utility service providers. The hearing, which brought together the utility companies, CSOs and the general public, including consumers, the PRC says it is to ensure that customers will be satisfied with a tariff review, which will be put out in July this year. My colleague Henry Kwesi-Bedu is at the event and joins us live for more. Henry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right,
Ken.
Tell us more.
Okay, so Ken, today, as you earlier read, the PURC has started a public hearing for the upward adjustment in tariffs that has been put out by the utility service providers. We've heard that of the ECG, which is asking for a 148% increment. The Ghana Water Company Limited is also asking for a 334% increment. Other companies like Gridco, Nedco, Gridco is asking for a 48% increment. Nedco is asking for 133% increment. The GNPC and also the Ghana Gas Company are all asking for increments in tariff adjustment or review. But what the PURC is doing is that it is putting together a series of public hearings for that is consumers or the general public to have a fair knowledge of the reasons why this public utility providers are asking for the increment. So today, for instance, as I speak to you now, the Electricity Company of Ghana is putting out its that is presentation and telling the persons that are gathered here why they would need that increment. But as they said earlier, most of them are saying that their businesses are on the line. The ECG is saying same, Gridco is saying same, the VRS and what is the Ghana Water Company Limited are all saying same. What they are saying is that they may be unable to stay afloat if the tariffs are not increased. So the PURC, as you said earlier, will be putting together the tariffs will be out by July. But before that, the PURC, that is the commission, will sit together with some CSOs to hear the Electricity Company of Ghana and all the other service providers give reasons why they would want, offer adjustment. They will also be asking them questions. So it is not an automatic increment or adjustment in tariffs as we've seen in the media. So it may be that the 148% that is being asked to be reduced to about, let's say, 30, 20, maybe 3%, upward adjustment by July. So that is what is happening now. So persons from all walks of life are here at the University of Ghana City Conference Hall and are listening to what is happening. When it is done, they will ask him some questions on why they think that they will need the upward adjustment. So that is what is happening here at the University of Ghana campus here in Legon.
All right, Henry, thank you very much for keeping us updated to events happening there. Away from that, the Asantehene Otumfuo Oseitu II on Sunday evening stormed Koforidia to attend the waykeeping at the Yadon Shedie Palace to mourn with the new job in traditional council over the demise of the Omanhene and the Queen Mother. The burial of the late chief and Queen Mother is scheduled to take place in the early hours of Tuesday, May 17, 2022.
We have not encountered any major challenge. Our plan was to deploy across all the major points that we were anticipating there would be challenges, especially with traffic congestion and human, traffic as well. We deployed since Friday. We have just witnessed the arrival of the king of the Ashantis, Otumfo, who just made a triumphant entry into the new Jaban area, and we will continue to keep our visibility and presence on the ground. We want to appeal to everybody to continue to give the police the necessary assistance, especially as we advise that nobody should come obstructing any policeman in the performance of his duty.
And the chief is expected to be buried on Tuesday dawn. We'll be back after this break. You're welcome back. Business News is next. In business today, the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng, has refuted claims that Guta is responsible for the high cost of doing business in the country. In his response to the claims by the executive secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association, Samson Awingobit, Dr. Obeng stated that Guta has fought for the betterment of traders more than any trade union.
Executive Secretary for Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Asaki Samson Awingobet, has blamed the current high cost of doing business in the country largely on Ghana Union of Traders Association for endorsing what he calls unwarranted and insensitive policies towards trading in the country. According to him, almost all the policies the government has introduced and implemented have received the blessings of Guta.
The media asking me that if the government abolished taxes, why do people go to buy spare parts and the spare parts was still high? Okay. We saw the 3% flat rate that was reversed, where the European importers and exporters and wholesalers and distributors. And someone stood on our ground and said, no, that was going to be in the treatment. We saw what the government bring cargo tracking note. Guta and openly endorse it. We saw what happened at the what you call the benchmark values, the 20% reversal. We saw how Guta leadership has been compromised for several years.
Sharp rebuttal. The president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng, denied such claims, saying Guta has always defended traders in the country, citing instances.
On the back of this, and joining me via phone is economic strategist Dr. Jerry Monfort. Jerry, welcome to the show. What could be the possible cause of high cost of doing business in the country? Hello, Dr. Monfort. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's quite great. The most important thing is that the cost of doing business in the country has basically been attributed to so many factors. One of it is include cost of borrowing from the financial institutions or access to financing from the financial institutions. As we all are aware, the country, the government actually borrowing from the domestic market made it more difficult for the banks to be able to hand out loans and other financing support to the industry for it to grow. The other side of it is that not just because that had actually influenced that, but the inflation rate has also pushed Ghana much more to a more difficult position. You realize that the inflation is now having a very brisk walk into the economy. And the third issue is also has to do with the forex exchange. Most importantly, traders rely on foreign exchange to be able to go to the international market to buy the goods and services that they actually needed. Now, unfortunately, most of the banks that were even exposed to the government through domestic bond purchases denominated in the foreign currencies are actually having problems because the government finds it very difficult to raise foreign currencies to be able to pay back the indebtedness of these banks. And that actually has led to so many rigidity within the Ghanaian economy. The other side event has also been the fact that within this just month, the Fed, the US Fed, has actually also increased the policy rate to about 50 basis points.
Right.
And this 50 basis point would actually curtail and make it more difficult for a country like Ghana to be able to access the capital market in order to even raise forex. So the combination has been two.
Right.
The other factor that is more challenging and more difficult has also been that now, banks are poised to lose most of their investment, the value of their investment, because the rate at which they were able to invest at that time, looking at the current inflationary pressures, makes it much more a losing end than the way you expect. Pensioners are also going to find it more difficult because currently, as we speak, it turns out to be that their pension, the total pension compensations are likely to be reduced as against the inflation that is also being meted on the economy. Now, the insurance holders are also going to have these challenges as well. And what is going to happen is that, granted that you might have insured your even asset or property at a certain value, and now it turned out to be that the inflation is taking toll on the value of the asset that you've even gone to insure. So that is to mean that if you lose your property, the compensation you might have would not be able to place you back to a level that you can. So indeed, the issue has got to do with the policy orientation of the economic team or the government, rather than the way we could look at this. Yes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Hello,
Dr. Moffat?
Yes, I can hear you.
It looks like the problems are many, but what can we do to recover and reduce the high cost of living?
The best way we would be able to do to cover would not be one-sided way. It has to be two spheres. Now, the government would like to improve in revenue mobilization to be able to assure investors that they are able, and that would give them access to the capital market. Now, in order to solve this current situation, you may have to either choose between satisfying investors or trying to boost the domestic economy. If you choose to boost the domestic economy, then what you have to do is that your policy must be heading towards using a physical strategy, not physical strategy, to be able to tame the inflation by subsidizing most of the cost-driving factors. Right. But if you're not trying to do this, then the alternative is just that the citizens would only have to work to please their investors, and that's all.
Dr. Moffat, I'm afraid we have to end the conversation here. Thank you very much for speaking to us this afternoon. Now, the Institute for Energy Security has advised government to increase the country's strategic reserves by purchasing more fuel on the international market for consumption at the local level. According to them, the prices of petroleum products will keep increasing, and Ghanaians should expect more increase by the end of May.
On the international market, we are hoping that the government would now listen to the calls that we've been making for months and weeks now to purchase and store more fuel in the local strategic reserve, because now the indication we have is that we have about 2 weeks of reserves for petroleum products in the country, which may not be enough going forward, and looking at the happening on the international markets, where we see the shortage looming longer than the 2 weeks that we have our reserve for. We suggest that government can look at how it can increase the reserve from the two weeks period that it can last for now, to purchasing reserves that can last for about 3 months for us to follow on locally. Of course, when that happens, it means that when prices are going up on international markets, we can offset that by releasing the local strategic reserve at a more cheaper price to stabilize prices or even reduce it on the local markets. Of course, also when the shortage that we are expecting to hit the international markets really happens, the effects that we've seen in Nigeria, where long queues were formed, where jet fuel prices caused the aviation industry to come to a halt at some point in Lagos and other towns in Nigeria, and of course also the long queue that we saw in Kenya would not repeat itself in Ghana if we have those reserves here.
It's now time for sports, and Phil John Corte is standing by with the latest. Hello, Phil.
Hi, Ken, and how are you, by the way?
Fine, take us away.
Okay, up next, we'll bring you the latest in sports. My name is Phil John Quarty. The Disciplinary Committee of the Ghana Football Association has served punishment to Ash Gold Football Club and its allies for their involvement in an alleged match-fixing act in the Ghana Premier League last season. Both teams have been demoted to Division 2 after they were found guilty of match manipulation and also meted to the leadership of the various clubs. We're speaking to UEFA licensed coach Nana Agyemang, who is on Zoom now. Nana Agyemang, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
And finally, the DC of the Ghana Football Association has taken the decision everybody was expecting regarding this very issue. What do you make of the punishment meted to the clubs?
Well, I think the punishment is apt, but the problem is it's so long overdue. But then again, I think, well, when I've had a sight of some of the reports, I think, yes, it may have taken that long to conduct the investigation. However, I would have wished that it would have been done more swiftly than it has been done now. But I think it's totally appropriate, well overdue. And I commend the Ghana Football Association for taking what some would say is a very stringent decision in terms of demoting both clubs to Division 2. I think it will send a very strong signal to the other footballing clubs that are in the Premiership and all the other divisions as well, that there's no room for match manipulation, there's no room for corruption and bribery within football, and everyone has got to understand that the longer we tolerate this type of situation, football in Ghana will not be able to develop, football in Ghana will not be able to grow.
And a quick one, I mean, aside they being demoted to Division 2, we're being told that the leadership of Ash Gold has expected also to get some fines, and the likes of Dr. Frimpong has been given a 10-year ban. His son, who is the CEO, has also been banned. Somebody believes that the punishment is just too much.
Well, what I would like to see brought into the matter is that the police are brought in now, and that the police will take the documentation from the Ghana Football Association and conduct their own investigation. I'm not sure about their jurisdiction, but I mean, look, as far as I'm concerned as a layman, a crime has been committed. And so far as a crime has been committed, then the police must investigate to the point where those who are deemed to have participated in the crime need to be brought before the courts for adjudication. So I think that's one other aspect that can take place. I think the fines are appropriate. I've got no problem with the fines. And I think that everyone involved, including the players, should be dealt with very severely in order to demonstrate that, look, there's no room for any of this.
It's good you're talking. Hold on. It's good you're talking about the players, but banning the player for 2 years, that should be too much. Career over there.
Career over, of course. Well, if you're a professional footballer and you're looking to really enhance yourself and even potentially travel abroad to extend your career abroad, and you've decided to participate in this, then, I mean, what career should you have left, really? You've not considered anyone else within the fraternity. You've only considered yourself. And as such, the punishment should be severe. Your career has got to be coming to a close if you're involved in this. There's no other way you can look at it. We can't empathize with players for taking part in corruption and bribery, Johnny. There's no room for that. You've participated in it, you've been caught, and the punishment must be meted out accordingly. And if that means your football career comes to an end, then so be it.
There's another school of thought that believes that the timing was totally wrong. 5 matches to end the Ghana Premier League. And believe me, Ash Gold are still in the Ghana Premier League. They'll still compete in some matches before end. You don't think some way it's not the right thing to do? They'll still be in the Ghana Premier, knowing very well they've been demoted.
Well, look, I think that the decisions and the investigation should have been much more swift than it was anyway. There's nothing we can do at the time in. If Ash Gold want to mess up even further with the last 5, it's up to them. I'm sure they'll probably lose the next 5 games because there's no motivation whatsoever to play anymore, is there, for any of the players? I'm sure those players that are not involved in this will be, club hunting. They won't want to stay at Ashanti Gold, but they can't move at the moment. And so the club will have to play those games and play those games well with a view to winning those games, even though they're going to be demotivated. The timing could have been better, but it doesn't matter. It's happened now. The decision is out. The verdict is there, and we must all live by it.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Cecily, we'll be back to you regarding this very topic in a subsequent bulletin. Let's focus on the MTN FA Cup. Now, Bechem United will play against Accra Suffolk in the finals of the MTN FA Cup after beating Aduana Star by 2-0 in the semi-final match. Head coach of Bechem United, Kassim Mingle, was more than excited for his team.
We've been playing the 3-5-2, and I assigned everybody the role to play, and they were playing the role perfectly. You see, they could not play, Aduana could not play, because we always outnumber them in the midfield. And our attackers were very fast. So when we outnumber them and we try to possess the ball power, we invite them to come, then we play it to our attackers, they use the pace, and outwit them, and we get the goals. Very, very fantastic. I told you, with them back, you see the midfield will gel. You know what? During their absence, I think there was a shortcoming at the midfield there. But now they are back. They are used to the way we play in the middle.
That was Kassim Mingle, is in charge of Bechem United, reacting after they managed to beat Aduana Star by 2-0 to qualify for the finals of the MTN FA Cup. They'll play the Phobians at the Babaya Sports Stadium in June. That's your sports. My name is Faye John Kwote. Harry standing by for the latest in showbiz.
Thank you, Johnny. It's time for entertainment news. Rex Omar has been re-elected chairman of the Ghana Music Rights Organization, that is GAMRO. The highlight musician won the organization's election again by 6 votes to co-candidate Dinah Hobson. He was elected alongside Francis Omari Adofo, who will serve as his vice chairman. The elections come after the newly elected 7-member board were sworn into office by a High Court judge, Her Lordship Justice Hafisata, on the 23rd March 2022 at the GAMRO boardroom for the commencement of their 4-year term, which will end in 2026.
Right, so there's an update on the Cape Coast murder issued by the Cape Coast Technical University, and it says management of the Cape Coast Technical University has received with sadness the news of a murder of a level 300 marketing student, Nana Ama-Clark. According to police sources, the body was found at Ola, a suburb of Cape Coast, around 9 p.m. on Friday. It is difficult to comprehend and express the enormity of the loss of this bright and promising young student. Management of the university calls on the Ghana Police Service to expedite action on its investigation and bring the perpetrators of this gruesome murder to face the full rigors of the law. In the meantime, management wishes to assure students, parents, guardians, and the general public that security at the university remains strong. On behalf of the university, management wishes to extend its deepest and heartfelt condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones. Issued by management. In international news, Mali is pulling out of a multinational military force in West Africa's Sahel region, combating an armed rebellion, the country's military said. Now, the G5 Sahel force, which includes troops from Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, and Mauritania, was set up in 2017 to counter armed groups who have swept across the region in recent years. And that's all time will allow for this edition of Newsbeat. We came to you live from our studios here at Northridge in Accra. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Have a good afternoon.